we've kind of quietly slipped into a new phase in the disk system. We're roughly 2/3 of the way through the library now, and a lot of the original games that are left are a bit different. We're getting a lot more experimental games where they just throw something against the wall to see if it sticks. Fewer big games intended to capture a wide audience, and more, here's a weird idea I had, do you think anyone would play it? In the case of Bakutoushi Patton-Kun, it's actually a pretty old idea. It's just been updated for 1988. Bakutoushi Patton-Kun is based on one of the oldest video games around, Tank, or as it became better known as, Combat. The progression of original arcade video games essentially goes computer space, Pong, Tank. That is how early and significant this concept is. Atari's versions were multiplayer affairs. You had to play against another human being. And your goal was to score points in a timed match by steering your tank around an arena and shooting your friends. And really, you could say that's a gameplay concept that persists to this very day. Naturally, the Patton-Kun of the title refers to U.S. Army General George Patton. In this case, it's using his association with tanks. The World War II general himself doesn't appear in the game. Once you choose to start the game, you'll have to enter information for any players. All of the tanks have different abilities, and there's a construction mode from the main menu where you can tweak any of them any way that you like. With tank selections made, and any players in, it's time to... Whoa, hey there! Watch your language, Bakutoushi Patton-Kun. This is a family show. Who am I kidding? There's no kids watching. There are 56 stages in Bakutoushi Patton-Kun, and you can hit up and down at the level screen to choose any one that you've reached. You can also hit left and right to adjust the difficulty of the AI. As you progress through the game, there is a minimum level that you have to use, and this goes up by one every 4 stages. At difficulty 0, your opponents will just sit there and not do anything. At difficulty 16, they will move much faster than you, aim perfectly, and have instantaneous reflexes. For most of this video, I'm playing at difficulty 3 or 4, and this is something that resets every time you advance a stage, so you'll have to manually adjust it. In the action, every tank has tank controls. Yeah, it's a big surprise that they did that. Hitting left and right will rotate, and pressing up will start you moving forward. Pressing down will stop that forward motion. The A button fires your gun, and the B button drops any landmines if you've collected any. It requires about 3 shots to make a tank explode, and when you destroy one, the person inside it can run around on their own. You have to shoot them one more time to put them out of the match. As a little guy, you can hit A to shoot your pistol, and while that can't hurt tanks, it can hurt other people. What you're doing is waiting around for an airplane to show up and drop another tank on the field. If you can get in that, then you're back in the game. The tank shots can destroy some terrain obstacles, though not all of them, and it can be kind of difficult to know what you can and can't destroy. Brick walls are obvious targets, but then there's other blocks that may or may not work. Some surfaces reflect shots, and those are the worst, because you can only have one shot out at a time. Your shot moves so slowly that if you don't hit something, you could be sitting there for 5 seconds before you can fire again. And if there are no walls on the arena, then everything wraps to the other side, which just makes that issue of only one shot even worse. Sometimes when you shoot the correct spot, and not necessarily destroy something, just have your shot hit it, a power-up will appear. These power-ups really change the balance of the game. There's power-ups that will restore your tank's health, of course, but there's also one that will give your shot longer range, which is a bad thing, and one that lets you steer your shots, which makes you extra effective. There's also a radio that will summon the plane to drop a tank. If you're in a tank at a time, the plane won't show up until that tank is destroyed. And then there's the grenade, which flips the entire match on its head, since if you collect it while you're not in a tank, all of the other tanks explode. The very rare question mark icon can do literally any of those abilities. With 56 stages, there's a huge variation in how effective they are. There are wide open stages with nothing there, where you just have to outshoot the AI, and ones that require some careful maneuvering. The computer opponents tend to be pretty stupid about driving, but if they can line up a shot on you, then you're blown up. It makes them pretty dull to play against. This is really a game that's designed for 4 human players, and you'll get the most out of it if you do that. Of course, you do have to have the 4-player adapter to plug into your Famicom in order to get that many players. In fact, this was the first game that lets you play 4 players on your Famicom. That has given it a bit of cachet in Japan, where the few people who remember it think fondly of the competitions they had with their friends. I like a lot of the additions that Bakutoushi Patton-Kun brought to the classic style of combat. Customizable tanks, running around as a person after your tank explodes, being able to recover and rejoin the match. All of that works pretty well. The power-up system, on the other hand, I think is actually kind of lacking. All of the power-ups shift the game way too much. And as a single-player experience, it's really not the best. But then it's also obvious that this was designed to be played by a whole group of people, so it's really unfair to judge it by that standard. In conclusion, Bakutoushi Patton-Kun really needs to put a quarter in the swear jar.